So I am an online entrepreneur, meaning that not only am I running a business, I've always been online, purely remotely for the last 10 years. So that's why I'm excited to be here today to share with you how I, run a business online. And I am also a mum of 3 kids. And I would call myself an aspiring philanthropist because my mission in life is really to help the poor, give back to society. And when I say aspiring, it's because I have big dreams. I want to be able to be the next Bill Gates and Melinda Gates or something. But you start somewhere, and I would sum myself up as a social entrepreneur and social online entrepreneur. So Outsourcing Angel is a virtual assistant company. So nowadays, a lot of people have heard the word VA, virtual assistant. And so, I was there working with VAs back about 10 years ago. Back then it was a lot more like, offshoring overseas, bad quality, and how do you know that you can trust them? But nowadays it's a lot more, everyone knows what it is now, and because they realize that the world is a global place and you can access quality talent from anywhere around the world and at a much cheaper cost. And so at Outsourcing Angel, we help you hire affordable full-time or part-time staff to work within your business, doing marketing work, admin, back-end work. And so you basically pay a third or a fourth of fraction of a cost for someone local. But it also means that you can optimize your team, right? You can have your local team doing more high-value things that will bring in the results, better results for the company, while getting the mundane, repetitive work or things that could be done cheaper it can be done by VAs.
Okay, cool. And does Outsourcing Angel kind of help with the recruitment and management of that virtual team?
Yeah. So the reason why I started is because of my own pain points. When I first started my first marketing agency, actually, I never knew what I wanted to do in terms of starting a business. Like I was just, I want to start a business. What do I do? And I stumbled across an opportunity to start an e-commerce business, selling nail polish. And then, so I had no idea about e-commerce, had no idea about business in general. And so I was just learning on the job, learning because I was growing my own business. And so I had to get things done, getting things outsourced. And at first I only knew of local companies to do my website. But after getting ripped off with spending $4 or $5 grand later, and then the website actually didn't belong to me. It still was under the proprietary of that company. I was left with not much money left to continue with my business. So I had to find a way. And that's when I stumbled across offshoring or using overseas people. And then even till then, the business didn't go anywhere because I had no passion for it. But then when I was looking for ways, like what else can I do? I didn't want to go back to a job. People would ask me questions like, how do I do a website? How do I do this? And I gave them the tips. I said, you can actually find these people really cheap overseas. But to my surprise, people don't have time. Business owners are busy. They're like, okay, I don't know. I don't know how to find them, how to do it. And so I end up helping them find the staff for them. Actually, but they didn't know how to work with them. So I was overseeing the projects. I was the middleman, project managing it for them and allowing them to get access cheaper resource, but just getting the projects done. And then, but after a few years of that, I just realized, how can I make it even more easier for business owners to work and get it even cheaper? So now we recruit for them. They work directly with them, but we also manage the relationship and the performance, because I realized that if you just give I could find you someone cheap tomorrow and they are good, but if you as a client, a business owner, don't know how to delegate, don't know how to work online, refuse to use a screencast tool to give instructions and just type your answers, and then your VA or your staff will just don't get it, and then it just won't work. And so as much as we just want to step back and go, here's your VA, we realize that they won't get the best value if we're not there to support them along the way of whether you're offshoring or working with a local team, you're still dealing with people. So we're in HR management space. And so even if someone is going well for a while, maybe their personal life changed. And so that's where we're there to help support them when things go different in the relationship. So with the new model of Outsourcing Angel, where I was just recruiting for people, it really allowed me to scale it a lot more. So when I say 70 staff, it's because 60 of them are actually assigned to the clients. although that we treat them like a staff because we wanted them to have a feel of this like an online company feel, because what they are really are freelancers. So normally they would have, so these people are people that used to work in a company and also like us, or not us, but I mean like most people who didn't want to be stuck with a 9 to 5 and traveling to and from work for hours at a time because of the Philippines infrastructure. They ended up just, that's it, I want to freelance and take my life back. And so they would go and look for clients, to work online with. But then it comes with challenges as a freelancer, right? If you don't get a client and then they cancel, then you don't have get pay. And sometimes you work with an employer that doesn't pay you. So that's when we're more of an agency helping them find the client. And so these freelancers are then assigned to the clients. But we tried, like I said, we tried to make sure that they feel so loved and cared for, that they will stay and be productive for the client. And so, yeah, about 60 of them work directly with the clients. And then our internal team consists of 10. And so we all work remotely. And the way we scale it is really just using systems and process, the way we onboard, the way we provide that support. We try to systemize as we go. And we always try to, I guess, keep that company culture as well. Like, even though you're online, you can definitely still, infuse the culture and the love that makes people want to stay. And it's also our philanthropy mission that people come and they're attracted to this mission. They realize, a lot of our VAs go, I wake up to a purpose, because sometimes you might go to work and you make money, but you might feel lost because you don't know what purpose you're serving to the world. And with Outsourcing Angel, because we always invest in charity initiatives and we're helping the people in the Philippines, they feel like when they're working with us, not only are they earning money, they feel like they're part of a bigger mission. So that's how we can expand and kind of maintain our workforce. My internal team, they consist of people from not just the Philippines, actually. So I have like someone from Singapore, from Indonesia, from Nepal, and someone from Australia. It's because really it doesn't really matter where you're from, as long as you've got the right talent and your price is right and you fit in with our culture. We hire you and we work with you. But in terms of all the VAs that work with our clients, we have been keeping it within the Philippines. Not that we just love the Philippines, but it's more that it helps us with our system and process. So we're able to then appoint a team leader to look after, I guess, an area of VAs. And then they actually catch up with one another in person, and they speak the same language and they understand each other's culture. And because the Philippines has just so much abundance of talented people who's already familiar with online, they've been working online in the marketing space for so long, and so that it's not hard for us. We don't have to train them. They're already like experienced, right? They're already skilled. And so we're just keeping it at that pool of talent, only because it's easy. And that means we can then give that same kind of price structure to clients, and we can keep everything consistent. Whereas if we outsource different things overseas in different countries, obviously you just need to, then it's just new culture, new pricing, new everything. I think when it comes to best practice and how to work with teams, you really need softwares and tools. Like, you can't rely on your emails and your WhatsApp call or whatever you're using. You really need, some of the major things is like a project management tool. So at our company, we started off using Basecamp, and we just stuck with it because you get familiar with it, you get used to it. But then there are definitely other project management tools. But what I love about Basecamp project tool is that it's a fixed price. So it doesn't matter how many staff you have, how many clients you add into the Basecamp, it's fixed price. Whereas other tools, maybe, there's some limitation to it. And the project management tool is amazing because that's why we don't have a time tracking tool that we use in the company, because we don't believe in kind of micromanaging, checking in what everyone's doing. But it's about putting all the tasks in there, putting deadlines that you want done, and then assign it to the person so that they just know in advance all the work that they need to do, and they'll execute it. And it's really about performance and productivity rather than just what hours you're working. And so the project management, and then especially when you're working with people in different time zone, even if I have local team now, it's not that we literally sit next to each other and work exactly the same time. You know, I might wake up at 4 a.m., which I do, because of my kids and my arrangement's different. So I wake up at 4, I can assign all the tasks in there, knowing that when my team wakes up, they know what tasks to work on. So the project management is important to keep track of the tasks. But then there's also Loom videos or screencast videos, right? I can't wait for that meeting, right? Because we might not be awake at the same time, and it's hard to be free at the same time, and it's also hard to just sit there and get the instructions when really it's easier when you can actually watch a video and see someone instructing things. So I think a screencast kind of tool is really important. I use it daily, and I think a lot of business owners where the weakness or where it could fall short is when they resist using a tool like that. Even though it's easy, they're like, oh, but I'm used to just typing out an email and type it. But they forget that there's just so much room for mistakes. And you know, if you're describing something, it's always going to be open for misunderstanding. And I've now worked with local team as well as offshore, and I can tell you, it doesn't matter if you give instruction by email. There's a high chance, even if they're local people, they would still get it wrong. So screencast tool is the best, followed by voice message. You know, sometimes if I'm really busy and I'm not in front of the computer, I would get my voice recording software that it's already in our iPhones, and I would record a message and go, hey, I just spoke to blah, 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 blah. And then I send an email with it. So then they're listening to it. You articulate. Because even if you spoke to a client and you had a great meeting with him and you typed out that he was a nice guy, he did this and that, you can't feel that. But if I explained to you and said, oh, that guy was just so nice, he said this, and you can hear it in my voice, so you can really feel that. So it's the way you communicate is really important, and it starts with video, then it goes to voice, and then everything else. And of course, I guess a central place where you're all meeting in one place. So we used to use Skype for a long time. It's a free software. But then now that we're on Slack, I can see a big difference. So if you're serious about having a real online company, then it's really important to be on Slack, for the reason that it is so clean, much more cleaner. You can actually search for messages and attachments. You can kind of tag that message as favorite, so that you can come back to that message. Because when you're talking on Skype, you know, messages go crazy and you don't know what you're talking about. And the fact that it lets you do threads as well. So let's say because you know, when you're messaging in a group, you might be talking about 5 topics and you're like, what do you mean? And you don't understand what the other person said because they actually referred to the first question you asked. And having Slack and you having threads and stuff, it makes it easier, and we automate a lot of softwares into there as well. So we use Zapier to kind of create a lot of automation with Stripe. So when we collect payments, it automatically goes into Slack and says, yay, you got $500, and the team gets excited about it. And we also tag the person that needs to do a next task. So it tags me and says, Lynn, time for you to send a welcome video. And so I do that. I link my Google Calendar in there. So Slack becomes your office, but it also creates a lot of automation and centralizing of everything that makes everything smoother. I think I've covered three important tools, I think. Oh, and of course Zoom, I think, because Zoom video conference, like what we're using now, is important. I think those first 4 things are vital for the essentials you need. Another cool tool that you want to note down is Workona. It's basically, do you want me to show you a quick share screen? Because I think it might look really cool.
Sure.
Okay, so what happens when you work online a lot, and I'm sure even if you're not working online, you get a lot of tabs. I mean, you get a lot of links and you're forgetting what links is what, especially even Google Docs. You don't know where all the links are. So this is actually a free software you download on Google Chrome, and I've created like folders of my own category, and you save all the links in here. So under marketing and sales, I have a bunch of links under, so let me just go. Okay, so sorry, it's a little bit slow and all over the place. Where did it all go? Okay, yeah, so there we go. So these are just like links. So there's like, so under reports, these are all links that I'm saving. It could be links, it could be, so I'm just under presentations, I'm saving all of the PowerPoint slides that I like, that I need to refer to. You know, a lot of tools or books that people mention, you know, yeah, it will just goes everywhere. Whereas having here now, you can categorize it in your own folder of links. So see a lot of resources that I found that are cool, I would then save it in here. So so then when you open if you're needing to open a new tab and you can't remember what was that link again, you just find it in here because you named it something that you remember. Then you might write, I don't know, strategy something. Anyway, yeah, so you type in there and it finds that what you saved in here. So I think that's a really cool thing to organize. And I've only just started using this maybe a few months ago. When I found it, I was like, oh my God, I feel like decluttered. Like, because it's, yeah, when things are messy, even though it's online, it's like a mess offline. It feels like a messy house again. And so that they could actually see it, because describing it is hard, right? We're going to use screen. We're going to do what we say. Do what we preach. So I'm going to screen share. Where is it? Okay. So what happens in a day is I would log on Slack, and this is like we would feel this as if we were walking in an office, right? And so the first thing that would pop up on my feed would be this daily reflection that would actually pop up because we automated this, and we actually asked the teams, what are you grateful for? Because we want to infuse this love, positive feeling, and we actually share what are we grateful for, and we write things that we're grateful for. Then the next automation that pops up in this thing is around 5 a.m. because I got the team to do it that early because I wake up really early. Today's top 3 goals and priorities. So this is where we can create transparency on what people are working on, right? Because if people, when we actually see what are the top 3 things they're focusing on, then others would go, oh, hang on, I don't think you should talk to them because I already spoke to them or something. Or see, I wrote here Western Sydney thing and I'm developing. And then so we can see each other's work. Now we did that because although people encourage us to have everyday huddle, you know, like getting everyone together and huddle for 5 minutes each. And if you have a lot of people, that's an hour of your time of meetings all the time. And you have a meeting at the end, meeting in that. So we try to do things just more easier and still has the same effect. So it's updating our daily action. We do have the weekly huddle, like weekly meeting where we all catch up so that we're more of like team building. But every day we make sure we just kind of share that. Since the coronavirus has really caused a lot of challenge in the business and we're needing to focus more and hustle, we do have at the end of the day kind of Zoom meeting so that we could touch base on the achievements. But other than that, in the morning, this is what we look like. And so we would say hello to everybody and that's it. But once you're done, this is where you go into Basecamp. And you would have already been tagged with a lot of tasks that you're doing. So so if I go into Hey, I would be able to see I guess tasks that's been assigned to me, so that I could actually work through that, right? And so this is a project management tool that we use, and I would, you know, this is where you would be working on tasks rather than liaising, chatting on Slack. It's really about doing your tasks within Basecamp. So that would be the kind of project. And then we use Slack more for tagging, you know, discussing about a topic, discussing something. So by the end of the day, like I said, we have our Zoom meeting at the end, and that's it. In terms of my days, how I organize my day, I'll just, go calendar. I think when you work online, you really need to be productive with your time. So you really need to use your calendar as a way to plan your days a lot easier, better. So let me just show you an example of my last week's. My internet's a bit slow. Okay. Okay. Is it opening? It's a bit slow. Okay. All right. So I think as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you really need to pre-plan your week. meaning assigning things even if it's not to do with your work. Like as you can see here, I have a mind and soul time in the morning, 4 o'clock. I'm scheduling it in, and then I have work time and I exercise. So, you know, and then each week, nowadays I actually exercise early in the morning, because you have to really, you know, when you're working from home and you're juggling life and you're juggling family, it's going to require a lot more faster adaptation and changes. So you can see here, that's my schedule then. But this week, it's starting to be different. The exercise time, I had to move it earlier because I can't exercise when the kids are at home now. I can't exercise. And so having all these schedules in so that you are fitting everything in your day, because if you don't have it as a task, the day will go by and you didn't have time to exercise because you're just sitting on your desk and you're not really doing anything. So you really need to schedule it all in there. And then keeping your calendar open and I keep my calendar open there. And the other thing that I use that I guess a systematic way that I do is, when it comes to to-do lists, I list everything that I think of in a to-do list. But then I only move the ones that I need to work on today to today's tasks. So that, because if you have a long to-do list and you're just going to pick the easiest thing to do and you're not really doing what's productive, but each day you pick the ones that must be done, needs to do, and you work on that. And the only 2 tabs that you really need to open is your reminder and your Google Calendar. Don't have your email open the whole day, because you're going to be reacting to emails. And even Slack, I would then close it off. Whenever I forget that, I would end up sidetracking from the most important thing to do. So any messenger app, any email app, you just you're in control. You give yourself a plan of like, I'm only going to open morning and night or 3 times, and Slack, I'm only available at this time. And if there's anything urgent, your team will know to call you or WhatsApp you or something more urgently, right? But nothing is really urgent. And this is not something that I knew all the time. It's been 10 years of running online, and I just realized how inefficient I was and how unproductive I was. And now it's a lot more sharper. So what I'm sharing with you now is like the ultimate performance, peak performance. Yeah. I think that's the danger with meetings. You really need to think like, what is the purpose of the meeting, you know, and then deciding the frequency of certain meetings, who needs to be there. The more people that's there, the more actually unproductive it is, because then and a lot of people don't need to be there. And yeah, apparently they say, you know, around 3 people is enough in a meeting, but not depending on what kind of meeting, but overall you don't have to have everybody who's involved. It's the key decision makers, and then you kind of always assess. So like, for example, we used to have weekly marketing meetings, and then we started to go, hang on, do we really need this, and what's the purpose of it? Let's only do monthly meeting, but every week please do a screencast video updating on the report. Get it? So that means that person has their own time to analyze the report and send a video, then we all watch it. Whereas if we all had a meeting and she's explaining it live, that's just wasted everyone's time at the same time. So yeah, just always audit and look at your time. The other automation that pops up at the end of the day for us is asking all of us the question, what did you achieve today? What did you learn? And what was the challenge? So that you are taking stock of your day, because your day would go by and you're like, I don't know what happened. Like, did I really achieve it? And I think it's important. That's why when you have that today's must-do list and you only pick a few that you know are quality, when you don't do it, you know that something's wrong, like you've actually like stuffed up your day and didn't do it right. But for many years because we get that adrenaline rush from dopamine. I think that's what Simon Sinek says, from actually just ticking tasks to do, like, yep, I've done it. Yeah. Another thing that I want to share is, so every week we get the team to brain dump everything that they're going to do for the week, so that everyone can see what the transparency between departments or people. And so we used to use a meeting to just share that, and it was just so time consuming. By the time we had 10 people, it became a 2-hour meeting. And so an idea that I have for you is to use Google Excel Let me just open up how it looks like. And I think this would be really good for, you know, even Western Sydney as a team, because you guys are, you know, all different team members. Okay. So we basically, before Monday comes, everyone has already filled out how do they rate last week, right? What was the reason? What did they achieve last week? And then what is the priority for this week? Most important learning from last week, challenges, and even this one word. It's really amazing when you choose a word for focus, you actually end up living that word the whole week. So you know, when Monday morning comes, you're like, last week I was all over the place, right? Like this week I really wanted to be calm. So when you set that word, somehow the whole week you set that intentionally and you're just calm. And so as you can see, some people have a lot in their to-do list. And let's say Annie, if she was spending the meeting updating us on all the work she achieved last week and what she's planning on to do this week, we would go on for hours. And that's what we experienced at firsthand. We started to like, okay, yeah, it was just like a thing. So really, this is where we just all check everyone's task. And now, so then when it comes to the huddle meeting, we literally ask one question: what is the best thing about last week that you want to share? And so that best thing could be something personal. It could be business, because sometimes it could be really occupying their mind about business, so they share that. But sometimes it's just something that they did at home. The whole point of this meeting isn't to update on tasks. It's to connect. It's to feel human again, to feel like you care about my life and not think. And so this has really worked well for us. And so the meeting with 10 of us is just a half an hour. So I think it comes down to communication, you know, that not giving the right instruction, and then the other person might not understand and then do the complete wrong thing. It's also forgetting that you need to over communicate when it's online, because you can't see them there. So let's say you're sending an email. We always train everyone to then reply back and say, I've got that email and I'm working on it. And it's just every little way, you know, even if something is due in a week's time, the best thing you could do for your colleague and your people you work with is giving them constant update. You know, 2 days later, hey, I'm up to here and I'm in that. So the more communication, the better, the less misunderstanding, because someone could be busy working for a week, but because they don't update, the other person can't help to go, what's happening? I wonder what she's up to. And so then it creates this untrusting culture, and the other person's like, you just don't trust me and whatever, right? So it's really about minimizing the misunderstanding. So the communication is number one. I guess the other challenge is just being productive, right? As in, if you're working online with people, how do you make sure everyone is productive? Being busy is not the same as productive and performance. So that is why all the tips that I've given you in terms of the picking up the important tasks to do and then meeting up with each other and all that transparency, then you can help one another and see that, hey, I don't think you should be working on that. Maybe can you help me with this? So that would be that kind of challenge between team. Yeah. But that's why I encourage people to have like a morning routine where they just wake up earlier than normal, do what you need to do for yourself first, so that you feel good and you've done something for yourself. And then throughout the day you do work. But I also even use my phone as an alarm. So I set an alarm at 3 o'clock, and I actually have a word that says, like, as in surrender, trust God. The reason for that is sometimes you think more time you put in it, the more you're going to get result, but you don't realize that sometimes you just have to let go, like as in you've done for the day, tomorrow be another day, and opportunities or luck or God has better plans for you tomorrow, that you don't have to worry about controlling everything. Now, having that reminder, so you can use your phone alarm as like a personal trainer, you know, like a accountability partner, so that because I used to have one at 11 a.m. That pops up and goes, have you added value to someone for today, or have you been kind to someone today? Because it was something that I want to embed in it. But once I had that habit in me every day, I don't have that one anymore. But at the end of the day, I still needed that, because it's the snap it enough, you know, like don't consume too much with work, because then you're going to burn out. And there's only so much you could do today, and just trust that something better will come. Yeah. I'm glad that about 2 years ago, I actually realized I was addicted to internet and phone. And because I was getting a bit of a headache all the time and a bit like this edgy feeling that I was like funny feeling. So anyway, I realized that I actually had to bring my phone everywhere. I slept next to my phone. I did everything with the phone. And I did a 2 weeks of like, I think I went overseas, left my phone at home, didn't use the phone. And I think everyone needs to kind of take control of that first, like as in quitting alcohol, this is the same thing. You need to quit this, or being able to know that you can live without it as a, you know, as a challenge, and do it for yourself first, because then later on you can pick the pattern a lot more. Like I would then slowly go back into using a lot more social media again, but then I can feel it and I'm like, oh no, but I know how to stop it. So, okay, I'm going to not take my phone today and just go somewhere without using it and all that, right? Whereas if you don't do that, people just feel like they can't. It's like, but I can't live without my phone. I can't this and that. So, yeah, having a proper detox, a proper one. I'm not talking about, okay, I'm just enough for today. I'm talking about like one time where you're like off it for 2 days straight, no phone, locked out, and then being able to not like survived it and go, oh, that was actually not that hard. And people will figure out a way to find me. It's not that bad. But then later you have it as a tool to use when you need it easier. Yeah. And then the tip that I said was every day when you're at work and you're ready for productivity, do not have your email open and just have your calendar. Some weekends when I feel like I really just don't want any social, I actually delete all of my apps just for the 2 days and then get it back on. It doesn't hurt. So you really need self-control when you're working on it. And I agree. Right now there's so many content. And so it requires even more personal willpower and control of your own time, and be smart about it. Yeah. And yeah, no, I still check because we have to, right? Because it's like, it affects our life, but it's just allocating 15 minutes there, 15 minutes at the end of the day. But then at the end of the day, try to like, don't sleep next to your phone. Don't read the news just before you sleep, because you basically are sending all these negative news into your head and you wake up anxious and tired and it's a non-stop thing. So you just have to have self-control. I mean, it's really, we don't have anything complex working remotely. Like everyone has a laptop. If you're lucky to have a Mac, then it's good. A lot of our VAs work on normal PCs as long as it's, fast enough. Of course, you need the internet and all those tools that I mentioned. So that's in terms of hardware. I guess, it's really about setting process and system and structure and expectation. You don't just start working online. You have to have all those rules set in place and how you're going to do your weekly meeting and how you're going to do your thing and design all that and then share amongst the team. And I really think that now that you're working, I guess this applies to whether it's online or offline, but it's collaboration and empowering your team to input, not just like, hey, we're doing this. It's like, hey, what's your challenge? How do you feel about this? What would you do? And then having your team members even suggesting a lot of things that you would probably suggest anyway. But when your team inputting in how they want the business to run or how the department should be run, then at least they have the buy-in and it's their ideas. So I think as a leader, as an employer, it's not so much about grabbing information from external and go, here we're doing this. It's an open kind of discussion and go, what challenge do you think that we're going to face? Oh, we're going to this and that. And then, okay, what ideas do you have? And then allowing them, it takes a little bit more time and more patience, but then it's everyone feel like they're all, I guess, working on this project together and they're all problem solving together. Because if everyone's already uncomfortable getting into something new environment and then being forced to do something new that they don't really get, that could really affect the culture. But so it really requires a lot more care and tenderness when it comes to online, because there could be a lot of misunderstanding. Just checking in with your team, this applies to anything, right? You just need to once a week or once a month go, hey, how's you going and what is it? And then just constantly fixing and improving your process. But it's really important to create your process as you go rather than working all over the place, then you're just going to get a dispersed team that's just lost and not productive, and you're not working on the same goal. So it's really important to be able to be flexible with time. So like, with people with kids and people with whatever arrangement, that means that they could still work, they could still do their hours and work, but then it might be in the middle of the night, it might be whatever. And so you as an employer would need to be open-minded about that. And like I said, with the project manager, you shouldn't have to worry that they're not doing work. If you give them all the work, they will do it, because they'll do it with their own time. And so it's less micromanaging and having that trust. But like I said, if everyone doesn't understand the communication expectation, then that's when it goes wrong. So like when someone is new working with us, they didn't realize that they should acknowledge the email, acknowledge the task, and over communicate the status update, because they just didn't know that's our protocol and our expectation. So you have to tell them that and go, hey, this is how we like it here. Update every 2 days. What if you think updating every 2 days is not good enough, and it needs to be every day? So set all that expectation, and then checking in with your team and reflecting it every day on your tasks. So sorry, the kids are starting to be loud, and that's exactly what happens when you have when you work from home. And this is a new challenge for me, because it's I've always worked from home and I always have kids, but it's a 24/7 with the kids, and not being able to pass them to the mother-in-law and the sisters because of social distancing. That is the challenge. Slack, Basecamp, so project management tool, a communication tool, and I think Loom, like a video screencast, which allows you to give instruction. Those 3 things will make online work efficient. We actually have a point system. We call it this love points. And so even with Slack, there's a kind of automation tool called Karma, and somehow like these VAs, look, I don't know the technical side of things, but the VAs would claim points for whenever a client praises them and say that they're doing a good job. They get one kind of point for it, and it just it just gets accumulated into this bot, right? And so at the end of the month, we actually have a leaderboard point system, and so anyway, we break the teams into kind of fun names. So one is called the Suicide Squad, one is called Storm Watchers, and whatever the name they wanted to name themselves. And then depending on the points that they accumulated as a team, they also win. So we give them money. So we might give them $200 to use that as going out lunch or going out to catch up with one another. So it's really gamifying the whole experience, making them feel like your good work doesn't come to waste, and we acknowledge that. And then the individual also gets top performance award, and we actually just create like a online certificate. And this is where we would then acknowledge that, we would go, hey, congratulations, this person, that. And so it doesn't have to cost a lot to make people feel good. It's the acknowledgement. And as a leader, I would also then message back and go, it's awesome work, and occasionally as the bots are rewarding people, going, come a point for this, come a point, I would then just go, that's really great. Like I just take some time to acknowledge them myself, because that means even more than anything to the team. And then every single month I do this thing called the CEO update. So I go on Facebook Live in our internal group, and I would welcome the new members, new team. I would sing happy birthday to, sing just one song, and then mention all the people's birthday. And then I would announce the winners, and I would try to really be fun with it, right? I would wear a boss hat. There's this hat that I use, this boss hat here, right? Have fun, right? I have this boss hat there. And then I would, do drum rolls, and and it's really to infuse this personality, because how can you make people at the end of the day, culture is being positive, being happy. And if you're not acting happy, if you're like, hey, we should do this, we should do that. No, it's how you're delivering this makes people already excited. And so so I would then update on last month's successes for the company. What are our focus and goal for the next month? And then also update them on the charity work, because, if we don't update them on that, they don't realize that every day that they work with us is all these, benefits that they're bringing to the community. So every single month they look forward to this, and then they, obviously it's live. So then they're chatting and go, and it's kind of interactive. This past 2 weeks, I've had to do my CEO update even more because of the coronavirus, because I know people are more anxious, more what's going on, and they don't realize. They just need to know that we're doing something about it, or that and they need to feel that we're feeling them, right? And so this is where we need to communicate like that more, as if you are the team leader, to do that. Yeah. Oh yeah. So in terms of culture-wise, then it's the I guess the point system, then them catching up in person, and then after the CEO update, we have a kind of after work drink version of online. So this is when the VAs would all come on a Zoom thing like this. It could be sometimes not everyone comes, of course, because they're all working with clients, or they just some of them are just shy and just won't participate, right? Not everyone's the same. And so there's about 30 usually that comes up, and this is where I would also try to do things differently. You don't want to have this online catch up and go around the circle with everybody talking, because you can't, right? So we've played with different ways of doing it. Treat this like an icebreaker thing. How do you ice break? How do you make it fun? And so sometimes it's ask random, if there's less people in there, then you would ask random questions like this or that. Would you prefer ice cream or this or that and that? And so then it's a bit of a fun game to get to know them and have a bit of laugh. But then if you have more people, then I would then talk about a topic and pick a few people to share their input on that. So you really need to always innovate. Don't treat this as I should catch up because I should. It's how do I make it fun and make people want to be here? And so be creative. Yeah, just be creative with how you do your virtual meeting. Don't call it a meeting, catch up and make it fun. Yeah.